Now, let's bring in Bernstein, Stacy Rasgon, and CNBC contributor Requisite Capital's Bryn Talkington. It's great to have you both with us. Stacy, you think this quarter is going to be, in your word, messy, don't you?
It probably will be a little messy. So, she's right. The estimates do not broadly reflect the impact of the China ban. Look, the sell-siders, unfortunately, I'm guilty as well. We're kind of lazy sometimes, and numbers have not broadly been reset. So the headline numbers, though, they may guide light. It's possible. In the quarter, the gross margins are going to miss because the consensus numbers don't reflect the charge. I think this is known. Like, the buy side's kind of there. I don't think that a guide below consensus on the back of the China stuff would be that problematic. A lot of this is going to depend on what they say about the rest of the year. I mean, they're trying to work around these China bans. So the question is how much of that revenue might actually start to come back as we go over the next several quarters. You mentioned that the supply constraints on the racks for Blackwell seems to be freeing up. And so can that drive upside into the back half? I would say in general, though, like all the China stuff, it's kind of a blip. It's not really that structural in the medium term. I would say that the outlook for CapEx now is actually quite a bit better than it was, say, 3 months ago. Again, the supply situation in the back half looks better than it did. I'd say worries about peak CapEx this year, and CapEx supplies next year don't really seem to be like all that big anymore. Like CapEx outlook looks really strong. And I can't imagine that anybody, regardless of what's going on with the China stuff, that you're going to come off this call feeling, like less bullish about AI than you were like going into it, given what Jensen is likely to say. So a little bit of a messy quarter, but I think the outlook's still okay.
That's all fair. I mean, and Bryn, we put together a list of what we think are the biggest issues for investors like you. Stacy obviously hit on them, as did Christina, with the maybe revenue miss because of the H20 issue in China. But the other issues to pay attention to, as Stacy was alluding to, demand outside of China. Is there still a DeepSeek overhang? Maybe we'll learn a little about that. New Middle East partnerships. Jensen Huang was just with the president in the Middle East. How significant does he see that being? And then, no fault of the stock or the company, there's a high bar. There's now a high bar going into this print. What was kind of a ho-hum has become a, oh boy. I mean, the stock's up 40% since April the 4th. What does all of that mean for what happens tonight?
So if you look at June of last year, the stock is flat from there. And so going into the print tonight, to your point, moving off from 100 to a little bit lower than 100 to 136, I think expectations have been priced in. The China, I feel, is very priced in. We've all been talking about this. This is not a surprise. They've talked about it as well. I think of how to trade this because the stock has been range bound between 100 to about 143 as a peak since June of last year. I do not think the market is going to allow this stock to punch through that 143, 145 to reach an all-time high with these overhangs that both Stacy and Christina pointed out. So as you're looking to trade the stock, I mean, the option market says plus or minus 6 after today. If it goes plus 6, that coincides actually too close to that 145, which is that high level. And so I think you could sell calls against part of the position. I do think, though, from a demand perspective, Saudi is going to do 18,000 GPUs over the next 5 years. The UAE, those are real dollars. You hear ChatGPT or OpenAI is spending more. The hyperscalers are spending more. And so I think that the conference call will be the opposite of messy. I think that Jensen is going to delight investors. He's going to talk about all the successes in the Middle East, plus. And so I think, just like 2018 was a great year to add to Nvidia, I think 2025 also is going to be a good year because I do not think at this point it'll punch above that all-time high and then start off just because of the overhang we have.